Hi, my name is Parker Kiriakakos. I am 24 years old and I'm just recently graduated with a Bachelor in Science, focusing on chemistry. My main hobbies include art. I really love animation, 2D animation. I want to pursue 3D animation as a hobby, but as everyone knows, time is kind of a constraint these days. Another interesting hobby I do is I have a drone piloting license, which is a pretty interesting thing to pursue. Kind of requires you to get a license in it and do a whole test. And other things that are more physical would be I like going to the gym, and I'm an avid biker. Bicycle, not motorcycle, just to clear that up. Other things interesting about me is I love animals. I've always had a pet dog in my life, and I'm an avid biker, cycling. Really love biking out and just getting that fresh air. Love the sun. Another thing I really like is swimming, but we're almost there. The summer's coming, and I'm looking forward to that the most. So initially, in grade 10, I wanted nothing to do with post-secondary, but it wasn't really until I started seeing and being enrolled in courses that really piqued my interest. I found the challenge in some of my sciences really captivating because, at least in my opinion, it felt like a lot of other courses, you kind of just did the work, whereas the sciences kind of pushed me to actually have to focus in class, to actually have to do some of the work just to see some results. And that's one of the main, that is one of the main motivating forces in my decision, as well as the fact that I realized that I had opportunities as an Indigenous student that I could take advantage of that would actually pursue and make, getting a post-secondary degree worthwhile. Science is a really interesting topic. I found that since you can relate a lot of science to real life and mathematics like Pythagoras' theorem, maybe not so, but there's a lot of things in science that you can actually connect to and learn to. So early on I had ideas of being a doctor, but just to keep my health in check, and that was a selfish goal and I didn't end up pursuing that. But I still was really intrigued by the idea that our universe, everything around us, from like the grass to the sky, the colors that we see, that is all deeply rooted in science. And it's something that progresses us as a society, but also it's something that in the wrong hands could be dangerous. And just being, a person that could potentially influence the future makes me feel like it's a good opportunity for people that strive to want to make change. It is challenging, but with a lot of challenge comes a lot of reward, and it really does keep you in check if you can get over that whole, scary, unknown topic, trying to visualize things in your head that aren't exactly easy to comprehend. That's really the most exciting thing about science to me, as well as the fact that it's really entwined with music, with art, with a lot of hobbies and interests with people. So there's a lot more to science than just numbers and molecules and stuff like that. Let's start with the worst. And this might not be a surprise, but it can be very stressful. I know a lot of my colleagues that would pull all-nighters, that would do crazy things, that would honestly pretty much impair their health just to progress their studies. And I actually found that you can benefit if you learn how to healthily do these kind of stressful tasks. So even if I didn't think I was fully prepared to do something in science, too much workload, or a lab that was just a little bit out of my reach, I always knew that sleeping, getting a good rest, making sure I'm eating, and honestly exercise are three really important things. And those are so much more valuable for you to progress in stress, in challenge, I don't have to say another word. In stress, in challenge, whenever you're dealing with hardships like this, it really does help, and it's a benefit that I really have seen, and I'm very thankful for the opportunities I've had, because I know the value of being healthy going into something. Keeping a safe and sound mind is so much more important than thinking that you've covered everything you need to at the cost of your health. So although it is stressful, it can be a lot of work and it can impact your social life, there are a lot of healthy habits you can adapt that will help you and progress you in the future. So in my personal experience, and this is something that might not happen for others, but COVID impacted me in my second year and my third year. Online learning, for the most part, was a pretty horrible experience, especially when you have professors that don't adapt to new learning styles. Just straight off the dome, I can remember a professor using cursive notes as his PowerPoints, and I could not read cursive. I tried my best, but I couldn't read it as fast as someone handwriting it. So I had to study completely in the book. I had to completely go off of what my literature was giving me, and that was a hardship that, as well as impacting your social life, it's something you had to balance. And on the topic of social life, university culture, it's good and it's a healthy place to be in, to meet a lot of people, make a lot of connections, but you can't let that take over your whole education. You have to find a good balance between work and play, and especially in my later 2 years, I did 5 years, I found that I had to spend a lot more time by myself, just in the library. I know people who really don't like studying in their room, but I have the ability to basically isolate myself in my room, treat it as an office when I want to, or enjoy, play video games, play guitar, whatever. I could separate that very easily, but it's all about balance. You really need to learn how to balance what you're doing and how you're feeling, because if you get a little too much education in, you're too stressed, you're not going to have a good time, and if you're spending all your time out meeting people, you're not going to be focusing on your education. So there is a balance, and that is something I definitely found by the end of my year. It's a bit of a tricky question, but by far, getting an education proves to employers that you can learn skills and you're pretty good at picking up new skills as well. Depending on what you do, you can pretty much, with an undergraduate degree, apply for most jobs. And I know the market right now for jobs is really tough, but it really does prove to employers that you're good at picking up skills, you're good at focusing on something, you're good at honestly multitasking. You have 4 to 5 courses, maybe even 6, depending on what you're doing, and employers see that as a benefit. But in my case, in my situation right now, I was really struggling to find further work, but I've decided that I want to pursue further education. I have educators in my roots, and I really do want to pursue that and continue giving on. So right now, I actually am applying for a master's, and with hopes to go for a PhD later on, and then being a professor or whatever that can get me. You also make a lot of connections. You meet a lot of professors, you meet a lot of people around in the education field, and that can actually help you basically get a job just by knowing someone, which is a really powerful tool. But I would not rely on that. You are your own person, you need to make your own decisions, and sometimes you will get opportunities because you just reached out and made a new friend or met a new peer, colleague, or whatever. So definitely using your education to make more connections and prove that you can take on new skills is extremely important. If I'm being honest, when I first started my education, I didn't think I was giving back to my community enough. I honestly felt like I was just taking, and this is a really troubling mentality to have. And I will say I'm very thankful for a specific person I met in university. His name is Braden Johnston, also known as Braden Kadloon. He is based in Calgary right now, but he is also an Indigenous person, and In this last year, all he's ever told me is you need to take advantage of what you have as an Indigenous person. You have a voice, you have things you can bring up to the table, and you're educated. These are all really important things, and they're issues that we can tackle as a community, as a people. And I think seeing the opportunities that I have as an Indigenous person as a mental issue or something that I'm dealing with is the wrong way to think of it. We have these opportunities, so we should take them and use them to progress as a community, as a people. The biggest issues I see right now are clearly global warming and as well as pollution. And it really does pain me to see people polluting all the time, and especially big corporations and companies. These are things that it seems like one person on their own can't deal with, but as a community, if we can get ourselves on a platform or be educated enough to prove that there are issues that we need to tackle, this is the purpose of Indigenous opportunity. It's to bring awareness on a grander scale. And I fully believe that I want to take advantage of what I've been given and give back to the community in a way that I can show people around that are being ignorant or negligent, maybe one or the other, that are just avoiding issues that we're dealing with. I really do think that we have fantastic opportunities, and I've changed my mind on how I see myself as an Indigenous person and how I see the opportunities I've taken. I'm very thankful for his guidance, and he has helped me in so many ways. This is something that you will only understand if you embrace your community, embrace others and traditions and things like that. So I'm really looking forward to getting more in touch with my roots, learning about the bigger issues around us, and hopefully bringing a platform to others that may not have it. So in my second year of school, I changed degrees twice, so I wasn't really certain on what I wanted to do in my future. But I had a professor, his name was Dr. Blight from UNB, Fredericton campus, and just by odd chance, some strange connection where I would just be at the front of the classroom every day, and he would call on me to help out with classroom stuff, especially if his technology wasn't working, how to set up some of the PowerPoints. And that connection, I didn't realize it at the time, was one of the most important things that happened. I don't think I would be sitting here right now if it was not for him. For he saw a student who was willing to put the work in, but knew that I lacked some guidance. So with his help, with his mentorship, he showed me what you can do and what you can achieve as a student, especially an Indigenous student. He told me about undergraduate student research awards given by the NSERC, NSERC, and that is what started me on my journey of research. So I did 2 years of research following our friendship, and even still, my last 2 years of school, I did research projects with Dr. Blight. I did my thesis with a close professor known to him, and he was one of my main references when I was applying for masters. And honestly, the lesson to be taken of this is, even though I had no idea what I was doing at the time, there are opportunities out there that you should be taking, and you will only benefit. Maybe it'll be tough, maybe you'll struggle a lot, and you might not even fully go through with it, but you'll learn a lot more about yourself. You'll learn a lot more about what you really want to do in the future, and these are things that I would have never, ever gotten a chance to experience if it wasn't for him. My message to Indigenous youth and to anyone else who's listening is, you have to understand that there is an inherent uncertainty in the future. Speaking from my experiences, if you told me 10 years ago that, Parker, you'd be sitting in this chair doing an interview on the pursuit of your master's, I would think you're lying. I would not believe you at the time. And that just might be the naive thoughts of me early on, but that's because I had my own goals at the time and I learned to adapt with the future. I think it's good to have a direction and maybe a destination in the future, but in reality, there are so many little bumps, little barriers, even detours in life that'll try to prevent you from getting there, but that doesn't mean you can't get there. Sometimes you just change your destination outright. There is no way to predict what will happen 5 years from now. There is so much opportunity in this world, especially as Aamjiwnaang youth. I think the world is in your hands. I think you can make whatever you want out of this world. And even if you spend a lot of time on the internet looking at news, seeing all the horrible things going on around you, be that person who makes the change. Put yourself on that path, but embrace the fact that there will be hiccups, there will be barriers, there will be things that almost completely detour you. But if you really want to make a goal, sometimes you have to take that detour and it'll take a little bit longer or a little bit shorter, or it won't go out the way you expected, but you'll still make it. And I am so thankful for everything that has happened to me. There are lots of learning experiences. I won't even pretend like I haven't failed over 100 times over the course of education, over the course of my life. Every failure is a learning experience. So that was my interview. I'm very thankful if you stuck around to the very end. Even if you didn't want to take away anything I've been saying, I'm still just very thankful for listening. I'm very thankful for the opportunity here to come here to the community center in Aamjiwnaang, and I look forward to seeing what comes out of this. And whoever gets touched by this interview, whoever feels inspired by this interview, I hope you go on to do great things. I know I will be going on to do some great things myself, but let's just look forward to the future.